few weeks ago, I was reviewing a food log with a woman inside of our community, and she said something I hear all the time. She looked at me and said, "Kelsey, I honestly do not understand it. I eat pretty healthy and I really don't eat that much." And maybe you've said that too. Coffee in the morning because you're not really hungry, maybe a small lunch squeezed in between work or homeschooling or running your kids around. You make dinner for everyone else and suddenly realize you're starving. And while you're cooking, you're picking random food, grabbing a handful here and there, a bite here and there. And then after dinner, you find yourself back in the kitchen wondering why you can't stop thinking about food. And here's the thing. When we actually look at the data, when we slow down and when we look honestly at what's happening, the problem usually isn't that you're eating too much all day. It's that your body has been underfueled from the beginning. So today we're going to talk about a Christian woman's guide to high protein breakfasts for weight loss and why it matters. Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Fit Moms podcast, where we believe that you can go on a journey to lose weight for the last time. I know you've tried all the things and you may not believe me yet, but when you do weight loss the Kingdom Fit Moms way, everything changes. You're in the right place if weight is constantly on your mind, you're confused about food, you're missing out on memories, and maybe even putting your dreams off for another day because this weight struggle is no joke. We're a community and we're on a mission to invite God into this weight loss journey so you can shed the burden and shine your light. I want you to start living and believing in the version of yourself that heaven sees. Let's get started. One of our mottos inside of Fit Moms Academy is that we are restoring the glory of God in real food. And our Fit Mom win of the week comes from one of our Fit Moms who's actually a leader inside of our community. And she posted this beautiful, several pictures of what she cooked that week. And it was just an expression of her worshiping in the kitchen. So some of the pictures of the food that she posted were of strawberry overnight oats, lemon lentil soup, lentil chili, and beef stew. I totally wanted to come over to her place to have meals this week. But I think that wins in a weight loss community can come in all different ways. Certainly, we want to see that scale drop, but even more than that, we want to see you learn how to love the process and how to love stewarding your body and learning about real food and cooking real food and getting your family on board and moving your body. So this is a major win this week. Thanks for sharing, Fit Mom, your love of cooking in the kitchen, and I can't wait to see what your next creation is. So you want to lose weight, feel sexy again, regain confidence, and have energy all afternoon, but the thought of doing all the work to get there feels daunting. And what sounds even worse is putting in all this effort and then failing, wasting your precious time and energy only to end up exactly where you started. All right, no more wasting time, energy, and money. My program, Fit Moms Academy, is going to teach you how to lose weight with simple, bite-sized steps that are sustainable and get the scale moving in the right direction quickly. I've had multiple students comment after dropping 5, 10, 20 pounds or more that they never knew it could be this easy. You log into your learning portal and literally every week I give you 1 or 2 bite-sized steps to implement so that by the time you're done inside the academy, you have an entire new foundation for health and you didn't even have to step foot in a gym or solely munch on carrots. I'm going to show you how hundreds of women have become set free from diet culture through simple and streamlined processes that allow you to not only see the scale drop, but also learn how to let God heal you from why the struggle exists in the first place. So come into Fit Moms Academy so I can show you how to get to your goal weight faster than you thought possible, so you can stop hiding and start living out the amazing, unique, God-given call on your life in freedom. Hop down to kelseywickenhauser.com/join and you can join our tribe today. So I've coached hundreds of women through weight loss, and there are things that I see over and over again. There are thinking patterns that I see over and over again, and so we're talking through one of those today. And one of the most common patterns that I see is what I already shared in the introduction: a coffee breakfast, a light lunch where protein is barely present, and this really just sets you up for a blood sugar roller coaster. Why does this matter? So when our blood sugar is not stabilized, namely through having plenty of fiber and protein and meals spread out appropriately, a well-nourished day without letting our blood sugar dip and then spike, it leads us to having cravings, and it really heightens our propensity to emotional eating and nighttime snacking. And nighttime snacking rarely is ever good, right? Oftentimes we create boundaries around nighttime snacking, not because, it's necessarily a horrible thing to have a snack at night if you're hungry, but usually that's when we let our guard down, and it just is not good fruit, especially if you are trying to lose weight. So when I actually look at the data of somebody who feels like, man, I just can't lose weight, but I feel like I'm eating pretty healthy, the story the food log tells me is very different than what women often feel is happening. So for some of my fit moms, I offer to do food log reviews, and they feel really stuck in a plateau, understandably, because there's so much noise around. You should eat this, not that, have carbs, have protein, not too much, yada, yada. And so it's really confusing when you think you're doing a pretty good job and the scale isn't moving. So I love looking at food logs and helping women make simple tweaks without having to go really in depth with counting every little thing. I don't think that's necessary. I think if you can have someone who knows what they're doing, look at your food log and be like, hey, I would take this out. I'd switch out the timing of this. You don't really need this in your diet. Why are you eating so much of this? And just point that out lovingly, then it can make a huge difference. Okay, so there's that piece. Now, God designed our bodies intelligently, and when we think about eating, part of stewarding our bodies well is nourishing it. I love that word, nourish. And I think that if you can have a mindset of, is this food nourishing? Is it nutrient dense? Instead of thinking about, is this bad or am I having too much of this? It's so freeing. When you're thinking about, when you can understand what food is doing to your body, and you can crave putting certain food in your body because you know its effects, that's going to change everything for you. For example, this week I was craving this kale salad that I made, and I've had it 3 times. And then my friend, she was over 2 of those times, and she sent me a picture today, and she said, I've been kaled. And she sent a picture of the same salad. But I was reading, I got a book for my birthday, and it's, what is it called? Anti-cancer diet or anti-cancer way of life. I don't know, something like that. And I was inspired by how many times some of these cruciferous vegetables show up. Like Brussels sprouts was really high on the list, which, as another aside, I have been eating the Costco frozen veggies. I think it's the sheet pan veggies is how it's marketed, but it has Brussels sprouts and broccoli and sweet potatoes and onions. Anyway, they season it, and I just put it on my little cast iron skillet as I'm making my eggs in the morning. It's so good, you guys. And so I've been eating that over and over again. But I was also in the mood this past week to have this kale salad. And I will tell you how to make it real quick because it's so easy and so delicious. So if you're like, I don't like kale, you got to have the salad. Okay, and I'm going to tell you the trick to enjoying kale. Because even my husband, he doesn't like kale because he feels like it's too chewy, I guess, most of the time. So here's what you do. You're going to get kale, not in a bag. Get the good kale on the stalk and then take it off and, just shred it with your fingers into little pieces. Then cut up an apple into little, I don't know, centimeter sized chunks. A little bit bigger is fine, I guess. And then you're going to put it in the kale. And then you're going to make a dressing. And the dressing is olive oil, vinegar. I only had white wine vinegar. I think balsamic would be pretty good in it too. And some honey. I don't measure any of this, so I can't really tell you. Just do it. It'll be fine. And then I squeezed a lemon in there, some salt and pepper. You could add other things. So I always have in my pantry just a random stock of different kinds of seeds and nuts. So let's see, I added some sliced almonds and some random hemp seeds, sunflower seeds, really whatever I had. So you get a little bit more good seeds in there. And then I also added avocado. Okay, this salad is going to change your life if you aren't sure about kale, I'm telling you. Maybe I'll send this out in my newsletter. Anyway, so you mix all this in and then pour the dressing on, not too much, so just put a little and then really massage that dressing into the lettuce. So I just take my little fork or tongs and I'm like doing this for a couple minutes to really get it on all of the kale so that it softens it, and then it's going to taste so much better. So anyway, I love eating it for the taste, and I love just kind of pondering how I'm putting this amazingly nutritious food in my body, and I just feel better when I eat it. I mean, I feel like my energy is literally higher after I have it, and I'm not counting macros. It's interesting. My friend who was over, she is in a season. She's not in Fit Mom. She's just doing her own thing, but she is counting some macros. But I don't know. It was just interesting having a conversation around it. And I was like, yeah, you can just know that you're eating a lot of fiber, a lot of good micronutrients. And I don't know, I think it kind of works itself out. So all that to say, when your stewardship of your body includes nourishment, then it changes this whole journey, and you realize too that you want to eat protein-rich foods because the amino acids are going to allow your muscles to recover. It's going to fuel your cells in a way that's necessary. Instead of feeling like, oh, I have to get my protein, it's like, no, I want to make sure that I have a decent amount of good sources of protein. So I'm not talking about, well, I won't call out the bad, but eat. One thing I would love to eat more of is fish. I'm not good at that. I live in the middle of Illinois. There's no good fish that's fresh. But fish, poultry, lean meats. I don't know if you're a tofu kind of gal, but I actually enjoy tofu sometimes. Plain yogurt. I mean, there's a lot of great sources, and then there are some plant-based that are actually really great too. So anyway, I'm getting off topic, but my point is when you learn to love what you're putting in your body because of just basically having an understanding of how God created it and just loving your body, right? It changes the game. Okay. It's interesting to consider too, before some of the big things in the Bible, how these Bible heroes, or however you want to say it, main characters, they fueled their body well. Like Elijah, he was fed before continuing on his journey, and Jesus feeding the crowd before his teaching. So nourishment, I guess my point is that it's not selfish. It really equips you for obedience. Okay. So specifically with protein, I've talked about this a little bit, but in case you are unsure, why does it matter? So I'm going to break this down very simply, and then you can go do a deep dive if this is interesting to you. So protein, it helps to stabilize your blood sugar, number one. It helps to reduce cravings because it stays in your bloodstream longer than having a high carb thing without protein or fat. So if you just have a carbohydrate like a piece of bread, say for example, or even something with a higher glycemic index like, I don't know, a cookie, you're going to get that insulin spike and then it's going to drop. And by the way, I'm recording this podcast right now and there's a storm happening and I'm just going to keep rolling with it. So maybe you'll hear the background noise. I don't know. Okay. Protein is needed to maintain muscle. So hopefully you are doing some strength training or resistance training of some sort, because if you're not gaining it, you're probably losing it. So you need protein to help you recover. Protein helps boost your metabolism and it's going to support your hormones. So I don't know how old you are listening, but if you're in your 30s or beyond, you may be coming up to perimenopause, or maybe you're in menopause, and we gotta have that hormone support, right? So I just turned 38 and I'm still nursing a baby, but I know what's coming, right? I don't know when, but I want to have plenty of muscle entering into this next phase of life. So no matter what phase you're in, you need protein and you need muscle. And muscle is really a key to longevity. Protein, it signals the fullness hormones, which is really important. And so if you have a low protein breakfast, it's going to make you hungrier all day long. Starting your day with protein, it's like sending your kids to a co-op or to school without shoes and wondering why they're going to struggle later, okay? Now, you might be thinking, what about intermittent fasting? Or what about, that's the one that I hear. Now, intermittent fasting, this is a whole nother topic, but what I will say is if you struggle with emotional eating, binge eating, if you're not seeing the scale drop, you got to hear me out. For now, we're going to add in these high protein breakfasts. And then if you really want to get into intermittent fasting later, we have a lot of heart work to do. We got to figure out how to not let food have control over you. And then and only then would I recommend releasing you into a season of fasting of any sort. Okay. So how much protein should you aim for? Well, it depends on your size. It depends on how much you're exercising or not exercising. So I think in general, it's great to kind of aim for 30-ish grams of protein at breakfast. So an egg is 6 grams-ish of protein. Some women may need more than that 30 grams. So that just kind of gives you an idea, and you can start looking at labels and doing your research on how to get that. But again, having a protein-rich breakfast, it really sets the tone for the day, and it's easier to hit that overall protein goal. And we're not here saying like you have to hit 120 grams of protein every single day. You should be counting everything. But if you're thinking about having a palm-sized amount of protein with your meals, that, and a little bit for a snack, that should at least get you well on your way if they're good sources. Okay, so I want to invite you now into a little bit of curiosity, okay? So as you go on this journey, maybe you come back and listen to this podcast after you have started to implement a little bit more protein in your diet, okay? I want you to start observing, and maybe you actually journal out these questions. So maybe you write them down right now as you're listening and see how this affects your whole journey. Okay. We always invite you to get curious in Fit Moms. It's good to be curious instead of going to a place of shame. Even if you mess up, just get curious. Hey, what happened? I don't really know what happened. Okay, so ask yourself these questions. Am I staying fuller longer? Just start to notice. And if you are, then don't stop doing what you're doing, right? Do I stop thinking about food constantly? Oftentimes, food noise can be fixed by changing the type of food you're eating. Am I calmer around snacks? Am I binging less at night? Is dinner more peaceful? So these are just some, check-in questions in general as you start changing your diet and eating more real food and changing how much. These are good check-in questions because sometimes we have one bad day and we think, oh my goodness, I'm off track, I'm blowing it, this is not working. But if you look at data from several days, you can be like, okay, this is actually an outlier. I don't need to freak out right now. Okay. So don't just look at the scale, look at your piece. Okay. Now, a few ideas for easy, high protein breakfasts. I'm just going to go through this quickly because you can go on Pinterest and find plenty of this, but some options that I like. So eggs and cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is a beautiful thing to be blended in to give you a little protein boost. You could do a Greek yogurt bowl. So I like just plain Greek yogurt with berries, nuts. If you are bothered by the taste, you could add in some PB2 powder or some honey or something. Protein oatmeal. So you can do this in a few different ways, but you have your oats. I sometimes like to add collagen to my oats. You could get a good quality protein powder, or you could do a combination of eggs with oats or yogurt. You can get creative. Just look this up. Breakfast taco bowls, or you can even have leftover dinner for breakfast. Breakfast does not have to look like breakfast. If you need some grab and go breakfast, you could do hard-boiled eggs in a smoothie, get that protein shake, overnight oats with yogurt. My husband is obsessed with these currently, so just a few ideas. You can also batch prep some ideas like egg muffins, breakfast casseroles, veggie skillets with chickpeas and sausage, that type of thing. Okay. A few, how do I want to say it? Troubleshooting points, because some of you have told me the following. So, number one, I'm not hungry in the morning. Okay, I hear you. I see you. I still am going to push you to try this, but I want you to just start small. Okay, start with just a little bit of breakfast, and I think your body will kind of warm up to it. Eat within those first few hours. Okay, it doesn't have to be first thing, but within the first few hours. Maybe you are like, I don't have time in the morning. Okay, so go back to what I just said. Prep once, eat leftovers. Make it simple. You got to prep ahead of time. And if you don't like eggs, I hear this a lot. Well, you can have yogurt or shakes or leftovers. Okay, so all the excuses are gone. We're going to have some high protein breakfast. So as we summarize and as we move forward from this podcast, okay, this is not dieting. Okay, this is learning partnership with your body. Sometimes breakthrough, it doesn't come from more restriction, but better nourishment, okay? This is your freedom pathway. So if you're like, okay, I hear you, but I still feel like I need some help, well, you got to get into Fit Moms Academy, because inside of there, I can help you with food log reviews. I can give you personalized feedback. You're going to get consistent coaching and this real food approach with some practicality, like I'm sharing on the podcast. So if you've been doing this alone and you're guessing, imagine having someone actually look at your patterns and help you to troubleshoot in real time. So if you know you're ready, just go to kelseywickenhauser.com/join today. And I would love for you to also hop into our Facebook community, Kingdom Fit Moms, and show us what your high protein breakfast looks like. Until next time, keep shedding the burden and shining your light. Hey Fit Mom, if this episode blessed you today and you can think of somebody else who's struggling in her weight loss journey, would you consider sharing this week's episode with her to give her a sense of hope? And then while you're at it, hop on over to our free Facebook community, Kingdom Fit Moms, for daily encouragement and support. Let's go shed the weight to shine the light.